Bob Regnerus of Feedstories, Part 3. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. Today's Part 3 of our series with Bob Regnerus. I hope you've been watching. If not, go back and watch the rest of them. If you'd like to be on this podcast in a conversation with me, or if you'd like to have me on your podcast or speak at your event, go check out brianjpombo.com for all the details. So here is part 3. What are the other things that you think that made the biggest difference for you that you think other people could learn from?
Well, for me, it was investing in things that have the ability to be flexible. So team members that are flexible with multiple skill sets, technology,
Mm,
like we were perfectly positioned to be remote. In fact, our company's been remote for years. Like
yeah.
that's j- we were on Zoom before Zoom was cool,
Yeah.
right? We had used it, so essentially that didn't change. Um, we also had a we also had this like enthusiasm for like what could be, but we also had a sense of what could go wrong. Now, the reason we're able to do that is we were in a mastermind with Perry. And as you know, Perry's my friend, he's a client, we do business together, but I also pay him for mentorship because he's so wise. And we went through an exercise January of 2019, which is like, what could go wrong in your business this year? Now, nobody predicted COVID, but we had some scenarios like, okay, if our technology failed, or we went through probably 5 or 6 scenarios. So it got us thinking even then, like, what would happen if, so we weren't shocked when COVID happened. We certainly had this, sense of dread like everybody else, but we had been exercising our what if muscles and had in mind like everything's not going to be rosy. So we kind of we were mentally prepared for what happened. And I was really proud of kind of how we like just we didn't panic. We had some really thoughtful consideration of how we're going to move forward, and we positioned ourselves well. We were prepared for some worst case scenarios. And I think that's one thing as entrepreneurs, we're always thinking like the best is going to happen. And I love that part of being an entrepreneur. Every project we get involved in, we think this is going to be great. And we have unbridled enthusiasm for it, and you have to. But you also have that sense of, okay, what if this doesn't work out? Or
Mm.
what if this idea doesn't pan out? You want to have contingencies, you want to have plans in place. Maybe that comes from my upbringing, maybe it comes from experience, I don't know, but it just seems like the right way to approach things, where you don't kind of have rosy blinders on, and you're oblivious to the fact that we live on an imperfect planet. You know what I mean?
Mm, absolutely. Boy, that's great stuff. You touched briefly on lead stories. Why don't you tell us more about what that is, how it came about?
Oh, feet stories.
Feed stories. Oh, excuse me, I
Yeah, yeah.
misspoke. Feed stories.
No,
Yes.
yeah. So that's interesting. So I really, that period between like 2010 and 2013, I was doing a lot of things to kind of find my way again. After you kind of lose an agency, I was just kind of freelancing. I hosted a radio show for a number of years, doing kind of what you and I are doing right now, which was great. Got to meet a lot of new people, help other people write books. But 2013, I got heavily involved in Facebook. Like Facebook started to become a media that advertisers could take seriously. I got my first 5 clients, and one of them just went into the stratosphere. Um, it was a clothing brand. In fact, it was a headband company, and it just took off. And one of the best things I did with that client early on was I said, you've got a headband. It's a $15 headband. I said anyone can knock this off. I said, but they can't knock off your story. I said we're gonna build your whole advertising and your whole kind of foundation based on your story, and your story is what's going to sell the headbands. And I was right. I was really glad I was right, but I knew kind of internally that it would be that way. um, this business called Boulder Band Headbands became they won Shopify Retailer of the Year in 2014, driven by Facebook sales. Like 99% of their sales came from Facebook. Facebook recognized that and like said, "Hey Bob, we're having this meeting with some other big brands. I want you to come in. We're gonna kind of brainstorm." So I had a chance over a number of years to meet with Facebook, but in 2016 in particular, I went to this meeting and all they talked about was video. Um, Facebook said, "We're a video company now." Instagram, who's owned by Facebook, says, "We're a video company now." And I'm like, okay, this is my like, I'm looking ahead toward the future. And I went outside of the meeting, was in the sidewalk outside of Facebook headquarters in Austin, Texas. I called Brandon, who's my business partner for Feed Stories. I said, Brandon, Brandon's a creative guy. He's a copywriter. He's a video graphic guy. I said, we really need to be prepared for this because Facebook and Instagram are changing who they are. And video is going to be like the thing that they are emphasizing the most. And so we started that company literally on a conversation over the phone. Um, Came into the same city, kind of put the thing together and started Feed Stories in late 2016. And we kind of felt for years we were ahead of the curve. We did a lot of video for companies, but it wasn't kind of people's number one concern. COVID was really the catalyst for us, where people really suddenly realized how important video was. But we were prepared for that. So that's how Feed Stories was formed. It was literally what I heard Facebook and Instagram telling me that they were going to prioritize. And so if I'm going to continue to be a really good Facebook advertiser, I need to have really good video creative. And why not create a company that produces the creative that I know is going to work in the Facebook ad? So that's how that company was born, and we're going strong here in 2021 so far.
For full conversations, go to bjpchats.com.